Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. Xana Canoodle asked her father to come over and help her to fix her locks. I personally believe it was the lock in her room, because if you try to change the lock on the front door, you would definitely need permission from the landowner or the landlord. Why did Xana need to change her locks or fix her locks? This was 1 week before the unalivings. Was she threatened? Did she feel unsafe? Xana lived in the second floor, and so did DM. Was there something going on inside the house? Kaylee said that she had a stalker. Kaylee was studying from home the last month before the unalivings. What was actually going on inside the house is a question.
And former FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole. She's the director of George Mason University's Forensic Science Program. Mary Ellen, it's great to talk to you again, although sadly, tragically, we're always talking to you when something horrific has happened. So when you look at this story, Mary Ellen, what sticks out to you about this case and what investigators are looking for?
Well, there are a couple of things that really stand out to me. And I know investigators said that the victims were targeted, and that's a behavioral term that has a lot of meaning to me. So the question is, how are they making that determination? And were they all equally targeted? And the way that assessment has to be made is to see if any of the victims were treated differently in that crime scene. In other words, if one victim received more injuries or was treated differently after the stabbing occurred. And that usually tells you that that person could have been the focus of the attack. And then secondly, this offender had to leave a lot of evidence at that crime scene. He was not evidence conscious, and so there will be forensic evidence. For example, it's likely that the offender cut themselves with the knife. After you stab that many times, your hand goes down on the blade and you cut yourself and you leave blood there, and that's DNA evidence. And so that evidence is going to be extremely important. And then finally, just based on going inside somebody else's home in the middle of the night with other people there to commit a quadruple homicide suggests to me that that person has likely been in that home prior to this attack, and that this individual, this offender, has prior experience being in other people's homes.
So Mary Ann is one of the leading experts in the FBI behavior department. She's retired now, but she's worked on high-profile cases. I agree with her. This is something I've always said. If we think logic, if you think rationally, how could someone, a stranger like Brian Koberger, enter a house with 6 people, possibly more, and a dog? How could they have committed 4 horrific quadruples within a couple of minutes? And if that is the case, that Brian did it, why were there 3 unidentified male DNAs found inside the house? And a glove outside the house? I personally believe it's somebody who's been inside the house. It's somebody the victims know. It's someone the surviving roommates know. Let's not forget, this was a party revenue. It was a party place. One of the former tenants who lived there said that people would randomly just walk inside the house searching for someone, although there were new tenants living there. The front door was left wide open. Who left it open? Why did Xana need to change her locks? Why was Showalter passing threats to Maddie, saying that he's going to get them? And unfortunately, 2 hours later, 4 victims, including Maddie, who was threatened, were all unalived. Where was John Jack Showalter that night? He was at the grub truck with the girls, but they left him. They ditched him there. He was upset. He threw up his hand and he left. It's always been said that he drove 5.5 hours to his parents' cabin. Now picture if he left the town, he looked like he was carrying something in his jacket at the grub truck. He could have had the K-bar or the large knife and he could have taken it to Boise, Idaho. Even as a kid, he's had a black eye. We know that he was arrested a couple of months ago in Boise, Idaho. It was a misdemeanor, but it was because he was disturbing the peace and disturbing the neighbors. I've read this article before, but I believe it's really important. In the beginning of this case, a young female in Boise, Idaho, wrote this on Facebook. She said, "I'm originally from Boise, but currently living out of state. So I hope I'm still allowed to give any possible helpful information pertaining to this case. I couldn't help but notice that a young man named Jack Showalter, JS, may have been a person of interest. I only bring this up because I used to work with him at Flatbread in Boise, Idaho. The summer of 2021, to be exact. I'm not sure how much information you all were able to gather from him." She's talking about Hoodie Guy. "But I couldn't have shake the feeling that he may be involved. I hope it's not my own personal bias, as I didn't work with him for long. But there was just some specific behaviors that gave me an eerie vibe." Pay attention. This young woman is telling us her experience with John Jack Roger Showalter. We don't know if he's Papa Rogers. She said, "At first we seemed to be able to work together fairly well, but a few shifts in, his demeanor changed completely. Another female co-worker and I were in the middle of a dinner rush. That's at the Flatbread. And apparently a mistake was made somewhere with the order. And he started blaming me for the things that I didn't do, saying things like, 'You are the dumbest bitch I've ever met,' and pacing around, standing super close and getting in my way. When I tried to put some space between us in an attempt to ease the tension, I decided to play along by saying thank you so much, hoping maybe he'd shift course or at least ease up a little. But instead he became even more aggressive." This is serious. So this young woman was working with Jack Showalter, and this is the behavior she recognized and experienced with him. Very aggressive. He was blaming her when it wasn't her fault, and it just gets worse. "Thank you so much, hoping maybe he'd shift course or at least ease up a little, but instead he became even more aggressive and started towering over me and shouting. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared for that kind of interaction that evening, so I slapped him. Not my proudest moment, but it seemed like the safest alternative for me at the time. Being shorter than he is, I got written up for it, so it's on the record. So she is actually telling the truth. She's telling us you can go and check. It was on the record and she got pulled up for it. But apparently it was not the first time he has treated other women in the kitchen in a similar fashion. To what extent, I'm not sure. But they all said he had made them feel uncomfortable. It concerns me because I saw the food truck footage. And if that really is the same JS, that's John Jack Showalter, I would definitely keep my eye on him and ask around a little more. Something just doesn't sit right with me. I hope this helps. And thank you for taking your time. In fact, thank you for bringing out this information. As a licensed mental health counselor, I don't think it's right for any person, especially a female, to be put in this position. Jack Showalter, hoodie guy, apparently was bothering many women at the flatbread where he worked, and that is concerning. He made them feel uncomfortable and he was aggressive. We saw him at the grub truck. He passed a threat to Maddie. He said, "You know we're going to get you for that, Maddie." That was a serious threat because 2 hours later, unfortunately, Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan and Xana were gone, deleted. Their lives were taken and he left town. Showalter needs to be investigated properly. He was one of the first people to be ruled out. Is it because he has influence? Allegedly, his parents pay a lot of money to IDAHO Moscow University. All his brothers have been to IDAHO College or University. I wonder if somebody's actually protecting him. Just in my opinion. Even Steve Gongalves and his wife Chrissy and his daughter Alivira were saying in the beginning some people were cleared out too soon. And they were talking about Showalter. If this is the behavior he was doing in Boise, Idaho, imagine what he could have done. Let's not forget he lived 1 minute away from 1122 Kings Road. The girls ditched him. He threatened them. He was thrown out of the corner club, allegedly, because Kaylee and Maddie reported him. He was thrown out of his frat because Ethan reported him for harassments towards females. Showalter has hunting skills. He's a professional junior wrestler. This picture was when he was 16 years old. He and his friend just slaughtered an animal in the most horrific way, and they both are carrying K-bar knives. Isn't that interesting? Now this is another article from a person, a woman, a female who was at the corner club. She said it's a fact that the hoodie guy had been acting weird at the bar. She means the corner club. And the girls had complained as he was creeping them out. My niece was with them and her roommates along with other sorority sisters that evening. At the bar, he had creeped the girls out that much to make her complain. Stalking behavior, if you ask me. He then went to the food truck and made them feel uncomfortable. And how in the video, sorry guys, I need my glasses, sorry. He leaves abruptly when they, sorry, I need to get my glasses, comes in disturbing. You can read the rest. But basically this woman is clearly saying that it's a fact that the hoodie guy had been acting weird at the bar and he got kicked out because he was creeping Maddie, Kaylee and the sorority girls out. That was at the corner club.